Hello, ladies and gentlemen. You have clicked on to the next phase of the Tribunal stage here for Tribunal number 3. One of these players that are still in the tournament is going to be able to qualify through the single elimination best of 5 bracket and get into the battlement stage straight away. Skip all of the riffraff in the gauntlet stage and go right in. So, before we actually begin casting proper, I wanted to take a moment to show you guys the bracket so you can be availed of our matchups here and also how we got here. You can see here on your screens now that we are going to be taking a look at Shopkeeper Dog versus Sosij. And of course, our remaining quarterfinal matchups after that are going to be Neblime versus the Shambler, a classic matchup in Cosmonarchy history, AOT versus Doglived, and this one's actually been a little bit more of a recent rivalry brewing. They meet each other very often in the qualifiers, it seems. And then down here in the bottom, we have Newt versus Cannoli, perhaps the most lopsided match on paper that we're going to have in the entirety of this bracket. Since then, that means that we get to sort of go over the matches that previously happened. If you missed those, they all are in the playlist linked in the description. You can also go back kind of chronologically, reverse chronological order. The most recent cast is always in the video's description that you're watching. But we did have 3 out of 4 of these matches go the way of the reverse sweep. Absolutely stupendous. The fact that Godwheat took the first 2 games and then Sosij reverse swept, Grass Eater takes the first 2 games, Shambler reverse sweeps. And we'll skip over the third one, but the fourth opener was Cannoli losing 2 games and then reverse sweeping Hanmano. Very sad to see our South Korean player go, but it was an interesting matchup, and it does make it interesting for Cannoli to take on a more strong, well-rounded Terran player in Newt. That being said, Dogliv did 3-0 Smarty. The reverse sweep was not to be, although I was chanting for it when Smarty went for a 6 pool on Patadia. That was hilarious. That being said, it serves us up pretty nicely. So, with all that out of the way, why don't we get into our match proper? In the bottom right of our matchup here, we have Shopkeeper Dog. He is going to select Crisis Vector, of course, and he will be our Lemon Terran. Channeling Neblime already. Oh, thanks, Godwheat. I appreciate it. Godwheat admin, Sosij, the one who knocked him out, is now going to be playing for his entertainment, perhaps suffering for his entertainment. Sosij is the eggshell blue Protoss in the top left. It will be a gateway, and it will be a fulcrum for Shopdog, and no real big surprises there. I mean, we're not expecting him to go bio in any of these games as the opener, but I'm still reminded of when we had Newt play the weekend wage match against Arbuz, who was still playing Protoss at the time, and he showed us the power of the Cyprian Anchor Ministry opener. Pretty interesting stuff. And then, of course, he went 3 folk behind it and mech. And it was pretty good. It was not a bad build at all. Knocked Arbuz down pretty early on into that weekend wage. That was some time ago now. Arbuz is now a Class 1 Zerg player. Can you believe it? Sosij will be leaving the building with his scribe, and the Worker Scout is already a little bit faster there for Shopdog. I just wanted to take this moment to say, guys, it's December. Sure, we don't have the Christmas skins on these ranked games, but everything else will be fair play. So if you guys want to join in the Christmas cheer, you just leave your celebrations on by default, and you will see all of the action there. Funnily story, we had some Koreans join us and some other East Asian players sound off that there was this bug in the game because they were like, why are there some weird iScript errors associated with the Santa hats as soon as December hit? And that was still in the last day of November for me because I'm out here in the West. So they were time traveling, those Koreans. Shakes fist. But that's all right. We managed to fix them up just in time for the Winter Wars to begin in earnest. Shopdog is a heavy favorite in this matchup, our number 1 seed in the tournament. Going to be going up against Sosij, who's been an uncanny Protoss player, or I should say a canny Protoss player. That's the complimentary term for it. Pretty witty, pretty crafty, and just unconventional. So we'll see if Shopdog is able to deal with all of the little pinstripes that Sosij likes to put on things. It's going to be a third gateway, so that is kind of an interesting tale itself, but it's not the most unconventional. We're probably going to see him do something similar to what he did against Godwheat, where he went for a more, shall we say, aggressive architect push. Double unitary union off of 2 bases. Maybe we might see him return to form and use artisans as his sort of, I guess you could call it like a life jacket almost, like a lifesaver, but I don't know. There's something about the artisans that make it feel like maybe they aren't the most useful options there. because Shopkeeper Dog is pretty active. You can see him already laying mines around the resources. He knows exactly what Sosij is up to. He's even got that. It's because of Shopkeeper Dog that I am aware that this bug even exists, and it will be fixed pretty soon on pre-release. But amazing that you can technically lay mines that are colliding with structures, but in those situations they don't actually burrow. It's pretty interesting. Newt actually did it in a match that I saw recently, and it was on top of a Larvosk, and I was like, oh, damn, because I was going to whitelist resources for it, but now I've got to think about a different way to solve this problem. I guess by only preventing burrow if it's within the actual collision radius and not the placement footprint. Anyway, a Nexus is on the way. Sosij will be going for an expansion. It is much later than Shopdog's. He delayed his third Fulcrum, which he typically does add a bit sooner. And that would, in theory, mean that the 3 gateways can outproduce the Terran player, but Sosij has actually chosen to play a little bit more on the defensive side rather than engage in this sort of early dance between all of the mines and the vultures. He's actually sending a Dracodon across to play Minesweeper, and I mean, listen, dude, there's a lot of vultures. Even though there was a delayed third Fulcrum, that was never going to work out. So that's the first sort of, I guess maybe the second knock against him, the first knock being that he just chose to disengage from that early micro-oriented, high-level play. And he's like, nah, I'm just going to, play it a little bit more conservatively. And I do think that that will result in some problems down the road, as Shopdog is more than happy to play the macro game into some kind of vicious tier 2 timing, which is why he's not going for any add-ons. He's adding a stockade now. I have a feeling this is going to be for like a vestry or something as opposed to anything in particular. But maybe we'll see him pivot into a bunch of Eidolons. He has been doing that sometimes against Protoss and also against Terran players. And this is another thing. What's going on here? Sosij adding 2 extra Wardens. Even the 1 Warden I was a little bit eyebrow raised on. We don't have any star pads. We have a scrapyard and a second stockade. This points more and more towards Blackjack Eidolon, if that's what he wants to do. Rogue Gallery coming down for Sosij, finally developing his tech as a second base starts to activate. And there's the Covenant. So we had almost 600 Vespene there for just a split second. Covenant, obviously a very pricey add-on. Now we know. Shopdog not looking for tier 2 in this game. He wants to play it out a little bit more aggressive, build up that timing in the early, and see what he can do from there. Wouldn't be surprised to see him attempt to take a third base. Would be surprised to see him take the double gas one. Though he does have a little bit of his pick of the litter, because if you look at the way that the vultures have been patrolling around the map, he's constantly getting good vision and figuring out what Sosij is doing, or at the very least what he's not doing. And what he's not doing is taking control of the map, looking for a third base very fast, looking for even artisans to develop the economy. So Shopdog being ahead economically, sure, you might say that actually he isn't because he's cut workers at some point, and Sosij has taken the worker lead despite having the slower second base. But I think there's a component to this. That was an amazing minesweep from that scribe, by the way. I think there's a component to this that points to Shopdog hitting a really nice timing attack, and it being perhaps a little bit difficult for him to transfer out of that tech and into something more macro-oriented. I don't think we'll actually see the third base anytime soon. He is going to be adding another Fulcrum, another Stockade. 4 of each structure does point to me towards Blackjack Eidolon hardcore. He's got a lot of vultures. I'm sure they'll be useful in other ways. Still, many of them have mines, almost certainly. Curiously enough, we do have a bar guest here. I actually wonder what that's for. Third base coming for Sosij soon. He's just going to play more Minesweeper games for a little bit. But with the bar guest here, is that so that you can just fly into the Eidolons and decloak them? I mean, like, in theory, a witness would do that too, but no embassy exists right now. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure the bar guest is there initially because he's thinking that there's going to be, like, a lot of phalanxes, a lot of matadors, maybe. In practice, in reality, it's going to be a little bit different. No advance warning for this move out from Shopdog, who is adding some matadors. Tears down the first of the power generators to get them out of the way. His Eidolon count is obviously still pretty low, only at 4, but he can start stacking them up, and he wants to take that early pressure, especially since the mines have told him that there's an attempted third base being taken. No Nexus is placed just yet. 2 bar guests, and nice, very, very good concave there. Vulture Blackjack heckling a lot of those gateway units, and now, with the pylons being heckled off to the side, does feel like, oh, look at that, 4 Goliaths on the way for Shopkeeper Dog. I wonder what the bar guests are for. Seriously, I'm curious. A little bit of air units never hurt. going into these mech plays, but the Blackjacks are going to make it pretty difficult for them to find anything, and the Eidolons can try to pick them from afar. This is a great siege move coming in. You can see the Scribes being sent across to try to decloak those Eidolons, but remember what happens. This looks so good for the Terran, and then every unit except for Eidolons die, and then all the Eidolons die really quickly. No frontliners are immediately available, but we do have those Zealots coming. Unitary Union numero uno on the way, and a second one has just been queued up behind it. So no third base was even started to be interrupted. The Ministry did get made at some point for Shopdog, and he will try to take that Vespine gas. He wants to double down on the tempo that he's gained from here. He will take the double gas base. That is harder to hold. It'll be a while before Shopdog actually approaches it. Crucible, Unitary Unions will be empowered in that respect, and the Matadors are going to try to come on in. And the question becomes whether or not Sosij can actually hold, guarding the bulwark, guarding the Matrix, trying to use the static defense to his advantage, but he can't chew through the Matadors at all. They're taking so long to go down. Finally, the Scribes will actually bite him back, but there's no more combat units. This feels like it's been the critical mass that he needs. He does have some Zealots to deal with soon. Shopkeeper Dog, though, forcing an evacuation of the Natural. His third base isn't saturated at all, so this is still just one base difference from each other. But Sosij has lost a lot of workers. Shopkeeper Dog has not, and he's killed the Nexus. I think that's the death knell right then and there. The emergency pylon will actually decloak the Eidolons, funnily enough, but the Architect can't get anywhere. GG. I liked the idea behind the bar guests, although I couldn't really quite figure out what the idea was. But I liked the fact that there was a new unit on display. I do wonder what his plans for it were. Sometimes you can stack up a lot of those and go in for some picks, and that was not allowed by Shopkeeper Dog. So kind of a straightforward outclassing for the first match. Let's see what happens in Game 2. Frosted Forest is up next. It is our second map here. Sosij in the bottom left will be Eggshell Blue. Shopkeeper Dog in the top right will be Vivid Red. Oh, it was Vermilion. Oh well. And yeah, I think this time around, maybe Sosij can get a bit of a better grounding to him. I feel like not engaging with the trades that Drakodins can do versus Vultures allowed Shopkeeper Dog to get away with 2-Folk Ministry versus a 3-gate build, which should favor the Protoss militarily, but then he didn't move out. So in some ways you think like 2-gate Embassy, but then you might get overwhelmed by 3-Folk Vault. There's a push and pull there that you do want to be able to scout around, and if you're suspecting your opponent's going to go 3-Folk, then maybe it makes sense to do what Sosij did there. But because he never really checked Shopkeeper Dog, because he never really actually looked at him, it did feel like it was a little bit too easy for Dog to just get into a good economy and get the ball rolling. And the composition wasn't enough of a counter, didn't give him enough value when it came to that Game 1 that we saw in Crisis Vector. So we go on to Sosij's map pick. He's going to go Gateway Lattice, which is a little bit more Nablime style. Throw in like one air unit to screw with the Vultures. That might have also been one of the ideas behind the Barguest, but only really showed up when, you know, Matadors, Blackjacks, Eidolons were knocking at the front door. Mesa comes in and sees that it will be a gateway into a lattice. I like the Legionnaire start. It's a little bit different. Makes your opponent have to deal with stuff. Legionnaires can deal with Vultures in the early stages of the game too, so that's kind of nifty. And we just need to get that Legionnaire to actually pop this Mason, and he'll just follow him all the way home. But he doesn't go any further than that. One just wants to make sure they secure the kill on the worker. A little bit of eco damage as a result, as Sosij's own worker is going to be returning home soon. And we're going to go, it looks like Zealot Idol behind this, which is a fun, brawly sort of composition for Protoss, actually. Not something we see every day, but definitely could deal with Vultures. Idols are reasonable versus Vultures. A little bit of splash damage. I don't think the Vulture is particularly susceptible to that. Zealots are going to be where it's at. Oh, Shopdog going for the Goliath build. I love this. Let's see what he can do with that, because it's just going to be like maybe 6, 7... God damn it. I watched somebody who had a Twitch compilation or whatever, and apparently that's a meme now, and I didn't know that, and so now I have to live with that. 6 to 7 Vultures are on the way alongside this Goliath. God, why do random numbers other than 3 and 12, by the way, have to be brain rot for, like, the entire culture? You know what I mean? Like, I hate to break it to you guys, but if 3 was brain rot for the whole culture, it wouldn't be as funny either. It's only funny because it's like our joke. And if it starts to get too proliferated, it ceases being as entertaining. In my opinion. In my opinion. And maybe I'll feel differently if we take over the world or something. But that's how I feel. So, yeah. The Cult of 3. And the 12, by the way, stuff. That's only funny because it's absurd and it's hyper-specific to our niche. Anything that becomes more generic and widely known or whatever, it's just gonna be annoying. That's the kind of old man I am, I guess. Now we do have a Grand Library coming up, and it's just making Atreus. Sosij believes in Atreus supremacy, so I'm interested in seeing where that goes. It's pretty chonky, pretty tanky. The Goliaths are looking pretty schnazzy at this point, and it is going to be Cyclops behind it. Normally, this is where the part where Nicholas just moves across the map and wins the game, but it doesn't look like Shopdog wants to do that. Standing behind his minefield for now. His ministry is complete. He has a follow-up already planned, a third fulcrum in production, and we will see that mass up. A couple Hierophants for the longer engagements should help out as well. But yeah, he doesn't have a lot of actual single-target damage here. A Golem as well. That's a lot of resources invested in basically not something helpful, but it also wasn't helpful for Shopdog to just lose most of his Vulture DPS in that fight, courtesy of some lobotomy mine hits. So he's going to be able to try to heckle the Golems a little bit there, but they're a little bit too sturdy. He cleared a Legionnaire and a Zealot for 2 Vultures, so about cost-efficient in that respect, but yeah, you do want a little bit of snowball with this build. He's got a lot of Cyclops. Like, 6 Cyclops is pretty big. Maybe not as good versus Golems, but they'll be peppered down eventually. Nexus is on the way, just about done for Sosij at the Natural. He is adding more Atreus to the mix. He's only got the 1 on the front line now, but another one is about to pop in. Worker transfer over. And we will have, again, roughly equal workers. This time Shopdog has taken the advantage, despite how the early game went. Focusing down the Golems is a good tactic for sure. There's actually not that much of a front line here. That should allow the ranged units to favor the Terran a little bit more. But as the Atreus count and the idle count continue to rise, we might be in for it. Vultures are being reinforced because the front line is starting to dwindle. No scrapyard yet, so no Matadors are going to be an option. You don't want to trade suit, freely allow the Goliath to be broken here if you can help it. But it will be caught by the Hierophant on the way out, and that should be it. You can see him desperately trying to avoid death, but he's not going to. Stockades are being added behind this. Looks like maybe some Hurricanes in the picture here. Straight into the Covenant, actually. He believes that he can, he's not in danger of dying per se, but he doesn't want to win with the mech units initially. He's going to go for a little bit of a different tactic, which is to say the same tactic that he did in game 1. Funny how that works. There's the scrapyard. Looks like he's getting ready for stockade number 4. The 4 Fulcrum number 4, so that's a little bit of a... He kind of did them both at the same time last time. Bit of a different eco now, it seems. More Vultures being added. The Cyclops will probably garrison that anchor. That's just for, crossing T's, dotting I's, making sure you're absolutely buttoned up safe. We take a look at the Unitary Union coming. Feels good so far for Sosij. He's going to need to deal with that Zealot so that he doesn't just get all the mines swept for free. Still more where that came from. The Sim is now up next. Not a bad tactic, honestly. Using expendable lattice units and gateway units to make things happen. That wounded Hierophant is going to fall victim to the Cyclops and a couple other lobotomy mines. And the Eidolons are arriving. Unitary Union on the way. Shopdog has been pretty vocal about believing that the Eidolons themselves are not a very good unit, but they do allow you to occasionally get DPS going for your gas in exchange for spending your Vespene. Sacrificial Golem is a little rough. Those are not inexpensive units. I believe that they do kind of exist as a little bit of a timing attack option. And Ministry number 3 starting up here, while the Nexus for Sosij is warping in at the 3rd location. A little, just about under halfway. Ah! The Vibrance I love that. When you don't have detection, and Shopdog's build does not include it, the Vibrance is probably a good little alley-oop into this composition. You get right up on top of the Eidolons, force them to decloak, and then, pow, start DPSing them down. You get 2 Vibrances, it's probably over. Atreus count still pretty good here. Idol's starting to get picked. Yeah, not a lot of survivability in this army. Feels like right about now we're looking at Matadors being added. Oh, wow. Okay, going up to 4 bases, apparently. Shopdog, oh. Yeah, he's worried about that. Oh, that's horrifying. That's terrifying. No detection. The blob is just moving towards him. Now it'll reveal. A couple moving shots there from Sosij for Schnaz. Style points, you know. Lodestone. Star pad for detection. Oh, I see. The Lodestone's actually going to detect it if it runs into his base. That's pretty smart. That's pretty smart. I think when those units were first added, that's all people were doing with them. Neblime and maybe when Ramen would moonlight as Protoss, I vaguely recall that. Way it goes. Base number 3 on the way. Probably going to land and build a Lodestone if there as well. See? The Lodestone does have a use. Even top players make the Lodestone. Oh, I thought he was attacking himself, but no, the Vibrance is just dealing with that black deck. Here we go. Coming on in to try to soak up the damage. Those Vibrances are going to get roasted, though, by the Matadors. It would have been better to try to sidestep them before the detection came online. There's still actually no detection anyway. Atreus helping to chew through the Matadors after all, but those 2 Vibrances were very expensive. Base number 4 leaving the building. Base number 3 still not really doing anything just yet. Can't transfer in workers, but he's not actually building anywhere else. Anseal halfway complete. Fulcrum number 5 on the way, and 6. There we go. The Golem will scout out that there's another base taken. I don't know if he suspects that the sort of 12 o'clock has been taken or not. Empty anchor, by the way. It worked! Holy moly, it worked! That's so amazing. Draconin and Atreus just walking into death over here. Sosij not realizing it. He'll save the idol, but it's like the least significant unit there. Wow. What a flustering. That led to lost mining time and a dead Draconin and a dead Atreus. Empty anchor. Do that more often. Mine Tyrant takes to the field. Does it have anything good to actually choose as its malefactor? I guess it's going to go for the Architect. Not as significant of a tool as you might expect, but it'll be all right. Static Defense warping in at the 6 o'clock. Shopdog is going to have a bit of a tough time of it. Atlas coming in for him, and he will engage onto the Static Defense. Should be able to shut most of it down before it actually warps in. I don't know. The Eidolons are cycling through. Shots are going well. So far, so good for Shopdog. He's actually, I mean, he's doing way better than I thought. He cleans out all of the workers at this 3rd base as well. Very crucial. Some of the units do indeed get transferred over. The Matadors are going to be victims of that as well. But they won't, even though they won't kill the Nexus, they did take out every single scribe. Wild affair. Yeah, Sosij I don't think can realistically clear that out. There's a lot of Eidolons left that can just kind of right-click the Architects or even the Mine Tyrant if it dares step too close. The Mine Tyrant is not like the Autocrat, which is kind of hard to click on. The Apostle, which some people say is hard to click on, but I find it hard to believe. The Mine Tyrant is very large. Very notorious. Here we go. Matador's engaging. All right, well, see you later, Mine Tyrant. It was nice knowing you. And an Architect also going down. Pariah getting chunked as well. That's the kind of fight that Sosij really needed to be able to somehow win, even though there was no chance in hell for him to do so. Because now Tier 2 is online, 4 bases saturated, and you don't even have workers at your 3rd base. You got the Matadors at least. I'm amazed he even knows how to use those units. He's just got them on patrol for now, but, you know, you're a Protoss player. Your units don't deploy like that. Not even the Uptecton has a siege mode or anything. It just kind of walks around. Shocking. Starport's on the way. 6 captaincies. Where's he even fitting those? He's just got them all over the place inside his base. Is pretty cute. Shopdog also said something that made me a little nostalgic. He said, I miss the days when you would have to micro from, you know, a single building select, basically. He misses that part. I kind of do, too. There's something really dynamically exciting about that. You know what I mean? Most people are going to be like, what the fuck are you talking about, Proto? Don't put that back in the game. We like multi-building select. Listen, I like multi-building select, too. I'm just saying, there's sometimes you miss the good old days. Sometimes you're like, damn. I had to do so much skill in order to hit the rhythm like that. Like, if we took away the needing to tell your workers to harvest resources, people would have the same feeling, right? Although that plus, you know, the learned among us would be like, holy shit, that's horrifying. What have we done? Tinker's Tower. Oh, Nebline would not agree with that placement. Palladium. More captaincies. Yeah, this is proving to be a very scary looking setup for our Terran player. 1 Gorgon was made, just in case. Insane eco. He's got so much money in the bank, while Sosij is only now taking his, call it 8 o'clock, I suppose. Base number 4. The path seldom traveled over to the top left. No, it's 1 zealot, Shopkeeper Dog. Don't take your entire army. Do not turn those units around right now, mister. You are in big trouble. You just sent your whole army to deal with 1 zealot. Oh, and you attack your own captaincy? That's it. You're grounded. I'm taking away your bone. I deduct 1 win from your category. He's going to engage, and it is a pretty good spread, actually. Even though I was putting him in the naughty corner, he actually ends up having a pretty good automatic spread. Sosij kind of walking into this fight willingly, which feels like the most puzzling thing, and the thing that will actually be punished, despite having 7 architects. He doesn't have any supporting cast. There's nothing left over for him, and the Eidolon Menace continues to be a problem. Even though the Antseal, if it's still alive, isn't here to try to deal with that witness, you're still talking about a whole horde of Eidolons bearing down upon Sosij. What does he even have behind this? Those Matadors needed to be sent to the front lines ASAP just to soak up some damage. Architects trying to do what they can. There's a couple of casualties in the process, but yeah, I don't know, man. We got Striga, Apostles, Gorgons. We got Matadors out in the woods, just hanging in the frosted forest. On both sides, technically. A couple of blackjacks that were forgotten about. Architects on the high ground doing their best, but I think they've seen the writing on the wall. And these automata will not usher in a robotic age after all. Omega surround, even with the air units. It's over, boys. On top of the rally. Sosij can do nothing. GG is called. And that, my friends, is series point for Shopkeeper Dog. There ain't no way in hell we get a reverse sweep after this. Right? Alright, boys and girls. Sosij is, well, getting ground up here a little bit. He's our eggshell blue Protoss in the top right of Acid Test. Shopkeeper Dog in the bottom right is our red Terran. Vivid red this time. And it looks to me like, well, it's going to be mech again, but there's not really that many surprises in there, is there? I just wanted to point out that this series, even though so far, the first 2 games have been a little bit on the one-sided side. Sosij did improve in game number 2 in terms of, like, you know, how long the game went, his little backs and forths. I think the mixing in of the lattice units was not bad, but he just doesn't have a good read on what Shopkeeper Dog is actually doing yet, right? Shopkeeper Dog could turn it up here and just go for 3 Folk Vault all in. But that wasn't what he did in Game 2, and it certainly wasn't what he did in Game 1, where he went for a faster expansion than the Protoss player. So Sosij is going to need to be kind of a little bit on the up and up there, right? A little bit of body blocking, a little bit of smooching. Finally, they'll pathfind away. Let's see where they go from there, but it's a faster scout from Sosij this time. I feel like when it comes this early, there's not that much that it can actually see. 2-gate start, getting that Vespine gas even on the ridge mining before you're at baseline saturation. This is a very gas-intensive opener here for Sosij. I wonder what he's going to do with it. It could be like 2-gate Grand Library, 2-gate Stargate. There's a couple of things it could be. Maybe he just wants a lot of Hyros or something. First Folk is done. Vulture a little bit on the slower side, but that's all right. That was the case in Game 2 as well. Didn't cost him anything. Scouting 2-gate this time around. Shopkeeper Doug should feel like he's in the driver's seat. Like this is a straightforward sort of situation. I do want to take a moment here and say that if you want to support games like this, you want to support matches like this, you even want to support pro player show matches, which we've had quite a few, you can check out our Streamlabs link, streamlabs.com/pronago. You can donate to prize pools. We're still raising money for our next show match. We need $30 to get us to the goal as of the time of recording. If we get there and we raise $20 more, we'll go from a 2-player show match to a 3-player show match, where it'll be a winner stays on, King of the Hill type deal. We'll just go for about 11 maps, I believe. So pretty good. Pretty fun stuff. With all that said, the vultures are dispensed with, moving across the map. Dispatched and ready, waiting to go. Ministry on location. Shopdog feeling confident with the map control that he's secured. He's just going to probably wait in this like middle valley here. I've been thinking about acid tests, and I know that many people are kind of calling Litmus a failure over in StarCraft 1 space. I think acid test is just meh. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't end up being a super banger. It was all right. It did the trick. You know, there's some games on it that are kind of interesting. Show match wise, it's pretty fun. There's a game of Mixu versus Indy, StarCraft 2 players. There's some cool games on it. We have had some fun ones, but I do think that it's a little bit just kind of whatever. It's a whatever. Sosij trying to wrap around the corner here. This could actually get him into a really nice position, as for whatever reason, those vultures have not sprang into action until kind of late. So at the same time, it could backfire. He's got one Dracodon that's going to come down and see that the vultures are on the way. Now, what will Sosij do? Oh, no. Any attempt at maybe moving across the map and doing some damage seems to be dissipating. There are some vultures and mines up here with the anchor complete, but I feel like he could have pressured. He could have done something. Now his last Dracodon at home is going to go down. Sure, he finishes another one, but the workers, they can't really drill into that position. That's not at all where they need to be. Shutting down mining is not what Sosij needs right now. Everything comes back home. Workers could just stop and body block on the way out, but it is not to be. And even though only a few of them go down, it still ends up being all of the tempo, all of the timing that Sosij may have had to do some damage seems to have evaporated. This is another map that can be tricky to take your third on. I think most people should be committing towards taking 2 or 4 o'clock, depending on their spawns. You can try to go for 11 o'clock, for 7 o'clock, but it just feels a little bit too difficult much of the time. Cyclops are going to make it pretty hard for the Protoss army to get there, and a stop command was issued, so that's across everything on the whole control group, including the Striders that are farther away from the front. Go for it now once again, see if he can burst down the anchor, but at what cost? Shields are stripped. The Vultures are going to get a lot of value there. 4 Masons pulled, unlikely to break. Does end up sniping a couple of Vultures, not quite for free given the hull damage, but good as can be. Sosij is very far behind the economy. Shopkeeper Dog has a mining natural. And no real opportunity here to be answered back by the Protoss. Cyclops going to claim 1 Dracodon. Oh man, they're having a real tough time of it. I think you need to bob and weave with just the Dracodons. The Hierophants are good support units, but that's not what you got to be using here. Oh man, he's really struggling. So much damage has been incurred. 2 more Fulcrums being added, the Scrapyard coming. This is interesting because we don't have any stockades, so Eidolon doesn't seem like it's going to be where Shopdog takes this game, at least not yet. Gonna go for a little bit more of a trade. Loses another Dracodon, kills another Mason. I mean, Shopdog feels like he's chilling out here pretty nicely. He does actually pick the last Mason that was repairing, but... I mean, just one more comes to take its place. And Shopkeeper is... The way that he plays sometimes is very funny to me. Very amusing. He's an amusing type of player. A lot of artisans are starting to saturate the natural. Maybe get a few more options here and there. It's another dead Mason. Becoming a little bit of a graveyard over there. Now I'm going to break out, courtesy of the Matadors. Draconins can volley them down, but they have to spend time doing that instead of clearing out all the DPS. All the mines make it pretty hard to do some kind of counterattack with small numbers of units. Matadors are big red targets here. He is able to clear out most of those. It's a lot of dead Striders, a little bit of a trail being left here. And indeed, you can also point to the Terran units being sacrificed as well, but only now are any frontliners from the Protoss coming in, and the Matadors make short work of them. As the Strider count gets reduced further and further, it's easier for the Terran army to muscle their way across. Not so many on the front of the Artisan. Remember that there is no second base for Sosij, and I don't know if there's a second chance for him either. He left his guard down there, and all of his Striders are being blown open. I don't know what he was doing back at home, setting up more embassies, setting up Arden authorities, but now the Protoss is being pushed back once more. The Wardens are too far to help, and the Artisans are unlikely to find too much value inside the natural. Double Ardent was scouted. Whether it was clicked on is another story. A lot of Matadors being made. Anchor with 2 Cyclops in it. Earmarked for where those Wardens are. At the very least, that'll be an easy fix. The Artisans are coming in to scout it early as well. So instead he lands it over here and just shoos him away. I mean, that's pretty hard. Like, what are the Artisans going to do? I mean, I guess while it's lifted, they can attack it. Funnily enough, that's what they can do. All right. Arden authorities are done. But the Matadors are in humongous numbers. Admittedly, not a lot of damage here from anything other than the Matadors. This is a kind of a wild push into the base. Oh, so many of them going down, though. Going after the workers. Trying to run them down, seeing red. Doesn't end up killing too many of them, but I guess it's the aura that matters. Oh man, so many workers stacked up over here. 35 scribes. Oh no. Okay, there's not that many, but there's only 6 there, and they all stay alive, so there's that at least. But man, this must be really unnerving. There's like Terran corpses all over my base. Atlas has begun behind all of this. Base number 3 ready to go. There's so many workers saturating that natural. Can be transferred over at a moment's notice. Shopdog is in control. A little undersaturated in the main base. Doesn't matter too much. We don't know yet. Now the Vulture's canvassing the ground. We're going to have Matadors here as well to look on at the fact that the Artisans have been discovered. But nothing can actually shoot them. Goliaths are online and walking across the map. It's a very grim tiding for Sosij. He's got an envoy coming. Maybe he can airlift the Acantor. Maybe he can try to make something happen inside the main base of Shopkeeper Dog. There's a Palladium on the way for him. Terran player not quite done yet. 4 o'clock. Going to be saturated here soon. And with a couple of Acantors, I mean, on the front line, that does reinforce his capacity. But when the drop comes in, and he's coming in here and he scouts both add-ons, Atlas, Mantles, I don't think he's going to be too pleased with himself. Zealots are going to try to clear the anchor over here. Seems like Shopdog is happy to let that happen, and ends up killing a Zealot in the process, which is perhaps more than people thought Cyclops would make happen in that situation. Servitors are starting to come out. Witnesses here, the envoys looking for... Okay, here's the drop. Servitors are only 1 transport space, which surprises some people, but you can load a lot of them in there. thing is, transport space is like in an ideal world, the Protoss would be transporting heavier stuff because they don't have hot drop like the Trojan does, where the unload speed's really fast. All right, let's see it happen. He'll make landfall. A couple servitors to soften everything up and clean up anything that's been splashed out. So he can even task them onto the sieve as well if he really wants to. I like that he's following the Masons. Knows he needs to do something pretty big there. Envoy starts to take a few licks. Nothing over here inside the main base can defend, but we got cataphracts on the way. Preemptive evacuation as the phalanxes are deployed. Only one Mason will be unlucky enough to stand the test of time there. Servitors get cleared. We can harvest resources again over by the third base. And there's the Envoy, looking for juicy targets. Not able to find as many as maybe we would want just yet. Damage dealt. Up to 10 kills, all Masons. Just like that, Sosij technically has the worker advantage, but I mean, he's really undersaturated, or he's really oversaturated at the main base. Oh, so dangerously close. He'll walk away with a blackjack kill, but is it worth it? Oh, not able to unload in time. As soon as that missile launch sound was heard, he had to unload for a little bit more value, a little bit more DPS. And look at this army, man. Without the Acantors actually on the front line, how is it supposed to contend with what Shopkeeper Dog has? Cataphracts have arrived, and they are sending their salvos out. Their lasers finding impact. We got Acantors trying to even the odds, blow up the Matadors before anything too crazy can be done to the rest of the supporting cast. But how many times do we see the artillery die immediately when everything else is gone? The phalanxes have arrived. Oof. Servitors will try to speed things through, but even sped up Acantors are slow as molasses. Looks like that's been enough for Shopdog to reconsider a more straightforward push. Witness spying on the natural and the third base here for Sosij. Can tell him about the openings. He's making more Acantors. Another pylon to expand his build radius, and still no Nexus. Just trying to live off of the artisans. Now he'll realize, hey, I can start harvesting more resources from that 2 o'clock base. Zealots are waypointed into death. They need to be pulled away instead. No other presence for the Protoss workers. Gateways galore coming out. He needs to have a lot more front line, that's for sure. So 5 gate being added. Crucible to empower much of his production. If this game can go on for another few minutes, Sosij might be able to leverage the artisan count that he's achieved. Shopkeeper Dog is closing in on him worker count-wise. Not even bothering to make many more. He's got tier 2. Starport's coming. More cataphracts where that came from. And the next clash is towards Sosij's side of the map. If he is broken here, it pretty much wraps us up because all we end up having is a little bit of ground to cover before Shopkeeper Dog is shutting down the harvesting at the natural and pushing into the main base again. A hard-fought affair. Sosij won't die just yet. Gateway's about to finish. Crucible is done and empowering the rest of his production, but his Ardents are idle. He is not making anything out of them right now. And there you go. All but 1 gateway empowered by this Crucible. What a heavy lifter it's doing. Excellent SimCity. Excellent base design. The only question is, what can he really do with that? Now, 4 Zealots are going to come in and maybe wreak a little bit of havoc over here. That's the power of detection, empowering him to make decisions like that. So the workers are going to be pulled away. For a moment, Sosij will have roughly even harvesting with his opponent as the Zealots start to move in the direction of the natural. Phalanxes will clean them up. Oh no, Acantor. You were very bold, but that was not where you needed to be. A lot of Acantors, actually. Acantor Man is being set loose here. Zealots actually pull away and start clearing out some of the watchdogs by the looks of things, forcing a lift on the Ministry. More Artisan saturating the 2 o'clock. Suddenly, Sosij actually has an economic advantage over his opponent, not just parity. Servitor is being annihilated without much opportunity to respond there. Or maybe those were artisans, actually, which, if that's the case, that's very sad. Well, nothing to see here, folks. But here come the Durandals, and this is with their new passive that applies it's an anti-air rocket that applies polyoid, so Mostly good for dealing with capital craft, but it will eventually chew through those artisans. Phalanxes keeping things locked down off to the side. Your holy sword has arrived. Your holy sword is here is the actual dialogue line, but, you know, I like to get freaky with it. There's a lot of phalanx, more than I thought. Sosij will crash upon the phalanxes off to the side. The Acantor stack is pretty deadly for anything that gets within range. Those cataphracts are staying alive for now. 2 of them have fallen. The phalanxes will be the main thing that Sosij has to contend with. Empty production tab does not prove to be very endearing, very fortifying. 6 zealots, 2 servitors. Is that really enough? As the ground units are slowly encroaching onto the side of the phalanxes. Still 2 more to go. The targeting is good for Shopdog. He's got the 3 off to the other side to deal with as well. And Sosij has lost his whole army. Everything has blown open. GG. Shopkeeper Dog will move through flawlessly into the semifinals. And I can't say that I'm terribly surprised, nor at the result, nor the actual score line, but I gotta tell you, it was cool to see Sosij duke it out. Would Godweed have won a map versus Shopkeeper Dog? I suppose it's possible because that's TVT. The Shopkeeper Dog would have been suffering psychic damage. But beyond that, I think maybe the result would have been the same. Cool to see a little bit of Terran versus Protoss. One of our only Protosses has been eliminated. The other one is Neblime taking on the Shambler in our next quarterfinal. I will see you for that one. And that means we'll be in for a very fun time, I'm sure. That's one of the El Clasico matches. See you then.